The Russians are a joke when it comes to political manipulation, folks. But again, oh, America didn't really win the election. No, it's the Russians. It's the Russians. That's right. We're all enemy spies, but the globalists. And then we've got all these criminal leakers. And the head of Homeland Security has come out and said that this is treason, all this leaking. They leaked all the Manchester info. They're trying to undermine Trump, and the media then blamed Trump that his White House leaked. The State Department is ignoring his orders and is letting unlimited refugees in. That's the headline in USA Today and the New York Times. I read it earlier. I mean, they just do whatever they want. And that's what's crazy. Because the bureaucracy thinks it's God. Like Hayden, the globalist, he legally spied on you with the NSA and allowed the CIA to be used, along with Brennan, who told President Trump when he was elected, you better watch your mouth. He goes on CNN and says, America is in a dark time. America, Trump's really bad. No one's ever had a back channel to Russia. He says it's off the map. It's never even been done before. We'll play the clip. Don't believe me? Search engine Reagan, back channel Russia. Kennedy, back channel Russia. Obama, back channel Russia. Clinton, back channel Russia. George W. Bush, back channel Russia. Every one of them had it. It's standard. A back channel, it's the executive branch. The president can talk to whoever he wants. It's its own branch of government. But Hayden gets up on TV and says no one's ever even heard of this. He says it's the equivalent of having 14 purple heads. Excuse me. I'm going to stop right there. Let me just go ahead and break this down. Zbigniew Brzezinski is one of the top global strategists in the modern New World Order global corporate era, where nation states transferred their power to a multinational, unelected corporate banking combine. Brzezinski worked with David Rockefeller and others, and he pushed and postulated a stratagem that was part of the British model of what they know as the Great Game to use, divide, and conquer. He died yesterday at 89. Now, let me go over what the grand chessboard is. In chess, you believe you want to control the center of the table. So he was only bringing in the kind of Cecil Rhodes global corporate government model, but he believed Muslims, he's been pushing this since the 50s, and been arguing it to the Rockefeller Foundation and others, and they adopted his plan, would be the absolute key. And he argued that the Nazis had successfully used the Muslims in the Middle East for power and control of World War II. He obviously argued that the British intelligence had set up Saudi Arabia to control the region in 1901 with Lawrence of Arabia. And he wrote white papers on this, and he republished a bunch of them in the late 1990s under the title The Grand Chessboard by Zbigniew Brzezinski. So this is his words, not mine. And he explains, the center of the chessboard in the world is between Africa, Asia, Eurasia, East Asia, India, and all the way out in the Pacific, because the majority population, even in the Eastern Pacific, is Muslim, if you're not counting Japan and China. Okay? So from Eastern Europe all the way through the underbelly of Russia, formerly the Soviet Union, the majority population is Muslim. The fiery crescent here. Okay? Now, if you control the center of the board, you control Russia, you control Europe, you control Africa, you control all these key sea lanes, you control all the way out with Indonesia down to the Philippines, where you see the Islamists taking over today. Now, you then piggyback on that, the David Rockefeller plan, with China to use it as the economic power, give them the Panama Canal, give them 90+% of rare earth mineral control. They will become the economic powerhouse. Then the Western elites can make deals with the communist generals to move via tariffs and trade, domestic tariffs against their own people, to China, leverage out and control global trade, but to balance the power so that China wouldn't be too powerful, only the United States and NATO are allowed to have a global military force. China can only be in its own area and is not supposed to expand outside its territorial borders. This is, and what's crazy is they all write books, they have C-SPAN events, they admit it's the plan, they run the whole show. I sit here and tell you this. People go, there ain't no such thing as a book. He ain't read no book say that. Jones be conspiracy theory and racist. I don't like him very much. Ooh. I mean, it's beyond Forrest Gump. I'm telling you the admitted plan. This is not my opinion. Brzezinski said 5 years ago, we'll play the clip in the next segment, he said, look, it's a lot easier just to kill everybody now. We're not going to be able to propagandize because of the internet. It's time to just kill people. He said it used to be cheaper to propagandize 1 million people than it was to kill them. Now it's cheaper just to kill them. And this is a guy that helped Pol Pot murder everybody. So he wrote that in a book, one of his books, bragging how he helped put Pol Pot in. He goes, I did not kill them. We had Pol Pot kill them. But I did assist him. Everybody wearing glasses. Bye-bye. Oh, but then later we fought Pol Pot. See, they wind up the enemy and then they destroy it. So this is pure psychopath, Machiavellian, beyond Machiavellian, end justifies the means stuff, okay? It's one of the real black marks on Jimmy Carter. This is his. You wonder why Jimmy Carter likes the Muslims and always says great things about them? Because that's the shadow army, folks. Again, the National Security Advisor has written 4 books I've read admitting this. The latest, forget the name of it, I just scanned over it. I didn't fully read it. We heard another one a couple of years ago. Here you go. Grand chessboard, like 1999. Look it up. So here's the center of the board. What's in the center of Asia, of Russia, of Europe, of Africa, and then the Pacific, the Indian Ocean, the Arabian Sea? What's in the middle of the chessboard? The Middle East. And all the Islamists. In fact, they occupy the entire center of the board. They'll do whatever they're told by their imams. They're controlled. You manipulate them. They will attack Russia. They will attack Europe. Then you can take the rights of people in Europe. You can say ban free speech to be compliant with the Muslims. You can have the Muslims attack here, set up a police state in America as well. Same thing in England. You can use Islamic jihad armies to come in and destabilize Africa. Then the West has an excuse to invade Africa, to be the good cop fighting them. This is the grand chessboard. This is the program. This is the plan. But they think you're stupid. Just like Gruber said, thank God you're so dumb. Thank God you have no memory. Well, you're not dumb. And it's the message that creates the outcome. We have to have complex messages to understand the complex situation. So, between China and Islam and the Anglo-Americans are supposed to carve up the entire world, cutting out the wealthy Western peoples and cutting Russia out for the super elites and totally enslaving the third world. We'll break it all down straight ahead.
USAA, the financial services company which caters to military members and their families, is the latest company to pull their advertising from Sean Hannity's show, following a string of ad cancellations from numerous companies after the Fox News host started focusing on murdered DNC staffer Seth Rich and his reported ties to WikiLeaks. Hannity then accused liberal lobbying organization Media Matters of America of liberal fascism, claiming they were mounting a targeted campaign against him after they released a list of companies that advertised during Hannity's show. Prominent Twitter icon Mark Dice then went to Twitter and said, USAA, you're boycotting Hannity to please a few liberal trolls. So now we're going to boycott your company because we think you're garbage. This is Millie Weaver reporting for InfoWars.com.
It's Paul Joseph Watson, and the t-shirt has finally arrived. Nothing triggers safe space snowflakes more than this slogan and my face. It is the new t-shirt from InfoWarsStore.com. Conservatism is the new counterculture. You've seen how much this triggers the safe space snowflakes. The left controls culture. They control arts. They control entertainment. They have the complete monopoly on culture, which is why conservatism is the new counterculture. We are striking back in the culture war. This triggers snowflakes like nothing you've ever seen in your life. You've seen how much they absolutely hate the image of my face and that particular slogan, conservatism is the new counterculture. This t-shirt is not only a conversation starter, it will trigger the holy hell out of leftists. It will make me incredibly happy. It's available right now. Get yours at InfoWarsStore.com. It's Paul Joseph Watson, and the t-shirt has finally arrived. Nothing triggers safe space snowflakes more than this slogan and my face. It is the new t-shirt from InfoWarsStore.com. Conservatism is the new counterculture. You've seen how much this triggers the safe space snowflakes. The left controls culture. They control arts. They control entertainment. They have the complete monopoly on culture, which is why conservatism is the new counterculture. We are striking back in the culture war. This triggers snowflakes like nothing you've ever seen in your life. You've seen how much they absolutely hate the image of my face and that particular slogan, conservatism is the new counterculture. This t-shirt is not only a conversation starter, it will trigger the holy hell out of leftists. It will make me incredibly happy. It's available right now. Get yours at InfoWarsStore.com.
InfoWars has partnered with Defender Body Armor to bring you a new state-of-the-art line of advanced, highly tested body armor from InfoWarsStore.com. Defender Body Armor is certified to protect against all handgun rounds and even armor-piercing FN 5.7 pistol rounds. The secret to Defender Body Armor is its proprietary processing technology that disperses more kinetic energy at a rate higher than any other traditional body armor, using one of the strongest synthetic materials ever created, called ultra-high molecular weight polyethylene. Defender Armor is also super compact and lightweight. There's a reason the Department of Defense chose Defender to manufacture their new line of advanced lightweight armor. It works. Defender Body Armor is made right here in America and has received the highest level ballistic resistance certification from an authorized NIJ ballistic laboratory. Defender Body Armor is now available through InfoWarsStore.com, so you can defend yourself, your family, and finance the info war against the globalists all at the same time. A total 360 win.
You're listening to The Alex Jones Show. We now take you live to the Central Texas Command Center in the heart of the resistance, rallying patriots worldwide. You're listening to The Alex Jones Show.
All right, so what we're looking at is the admitted battle plan by Zbigniew Brzezinski. You can read his book free online, The Grand Chessboard by Zbigniew Brzezinski. He died yesterday. And if you're asking, how do they control the Muslims? Well, Saudi Arabia sits at the crossroads of the caravans. And British intelligence created it starting between 1901 and 1933. The Saudi Arabians have taken over much of the Middle East. They've been driven out of some of those areas since, like Syria and Lebanon. So they've carved them into these kingdoms. Then they just so happened, of course, to discover all the oil that was there as well. So they made tens of trillions, to be conservative, off of that. So British intelligence, U.S. intelligence, and others already had deals with Saudi Arabia to basically not get the blame for jihadist attacks that would then be blamed on Iraq, Syria, and other countries that were actually anti-Sunni Wahhabist. But Brzezinski's also credited with making secret deals that they claim they got discredited for. No, it was all a setup that's been partially declassified for setting up the Islamic Republic of Iran. So the Islamic Republic of Iran was also set up under Zbigniew Brzezinski because he didn't just want the Muslims to be out of control. He wanted them at loggerheads with each other. So that's strategic tension. So he's using them against the West. He's using them against Russia. He's using them against Africa. He's using them in their control over into Asia. All Islamic through here. They used to have all their big slave boats and slave ships going out and colonizing and selling slaves and kidnapping women all the way through here. That's why this is all Muslim out here as well. And today they're attacking the Philippines as we speak and mass murdering and slaughtering. It's all loving. It's the religion of peace. So all that's going on. So because Islam is centered in the middle, you use it against free societies, you use it against Africa, and it's all directed out of Saudi Arabia. So then you ask yourself, what's Trump all about? Well, Trump goes and says, I know you're running the terror. You got to stop it now. And Saudi Arabia says, yes, we are. We were wrong. We misled the West. We're going to stop now. And the next day there's a terror attack. What does that say? There's different factions in Saudi Arabia working with globalists that want to continue this whole Islamic reign of terror. Trump has openly said he wants an American century where the United States actually, through free market, free trade, and ideas, dominates the globe. Not a system where Islam's allowed to take over much of the planet and where Islam's allowed to basically come in and take over Europe and allied with the globalist and the socialist basically as their new enforcer. And our own military are the ones that don't want to go along with this plan. Now that our own military in the last decade started reading the Grand Chessboard, reading the Council on Foreign Relations publications that source the chessboard and actually admit that this is their plan and that this is their operation. So if you're a new listener, you have to understand Brzezinski's plan, like a Russian doll, fits into the larger globalist cosmology. So we're not completely following the Brzezinski plan. Brzezinski has had major input on the whole divide and conquer globalist strategy. And Zbigniew Brzezinski is now dead. What does that mean? Well, really not a lot, because his program will just continue on. But what listeners need to understand is, I did not just give you my opinion. That's what's so frustrating about this. The lack of knowledge in the public is what allows this to get worse and worse. It is a fact that every president for over 100 years has had back channels with major countries. It's a fact that every president since Woodrow Wilson has had back channels to Russia. FDR, Herbert Walker Bush, George W., Obama, Bill Clinton. Clifford Cunningham has written a new article detailing that at InfoWars.com. But do not believe me. And again, I'm not even saying the Russian back channel story is that important. What's frustrating is every hour there's a new story like this that's completely and totally false. So let me play a clip of the former CIA director, former head of the NSA as well, Hayden. Up there thinking you're stupid, saying Trump is off the map, Kushner's off the map. Nobody's ever had a back channel with anybody. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a complete lie. But everything they're saying is a lie. That's what's frustrating. Here it is.
Have you ever seen anything like what Vladimir Putin did today in terms of his defense of Donald Trump and his attack on both President Obama and the intelligence community here in this country?
No. We're off the map in terms of both our situation here, our circumstances, and what the Russians are doing. Now, look, I think Putin's a fairly smart guy, at least tactically. I think he understands his coming out and saying those kinds of things really are not viewed as a vote of confidence back here in the United States for the president-elect. I think it's just a continuation of his campaign to continue to poke and meddle and to mess with our heads in terms of the American political process.
And also what you heard Vladimir Putin say, going into detailed allegations, saying they weren't true, but then describing them.
Right.
I mean, that's fairly pernicious.
No, it is. And again, back to messing with our heads. Let's go back to the original covert influence campaign, which this certainly wasn't, probably the most successful in recorded history.
And again, let me read you the transcript here. I've actually got it from the full clip where he goes over all that. Let me go ahead and pull that up for you. I've got that right here. Pull that up right here. All right, here we go. Jared Kushner seeking a back channel with Russia would be off the map, ex-general says. CNN, off the map. That's how former CIA director on Saturday described the notion of Jared Kushner, a top aide to his father-in-law, President Donald Trump, setting up a secret communications channel between Washington and the Kremlin. Such a back channel would be unprecedented, said retired four-star general, and that's in the full clip. Michael Hayden, who also once headed the National Security Agency. This is off the map. I know of no other experience like this in history, certainly within my life experience. So again, that's Hayden, that's CNN coming out and saying this is completely off the map. What's off the map is Trump's actually standing up for this country the first time in decades and not letting the U.S. be sold out to all these multinational interests. That's what's happening. And people are standing up to the brainwashed left that wants to just have a bunch of anti-liberal, anti-freedom Islamicists pour into the United States and become the muscle of the left. And I haven't gotten to this yet, but I've got clips of professors being driven off campuses, liberal professors, because they want to make it anti-white weekend that have no white people there. And they say, you can't do that. That's racist. And they scream and say, we don't care. Get your white butt out of here. Again, this shows how crazy this has gotten. I know people at the UT Film School who are white, who have been kicked out of it and told you are not allowed to be here because you're white. Also in the psychology department. And then it's defended. I know major yoga studios that said, oh, let's have a yoga day where we, on Halloween, we all come and have a party at the studio. We all dress in Eastern garb. Oh, that's cultural appropriation. That's racist. You can't do it. And it's white people that are leading it. This is total and complete abject brainwashing. Now, before I go any further, I want to just encourage the listeners to understand something. I'm not complaining. I'm not whining when I say this. I'm simply stating the facts that you, the listeners of this broadcast, are changing the world. The intel you give us, the support, all of it. And the stories we put out are game changers. They are new talking points because they're true. I was the first to point out the CIA was involved domestically in the election trying to manipulate it. It's in mainstream news today. We were the first to break down they want to use COG to overthrow the president. That's now admitted. I've really studied this. I really study this. I don't just mail it in and act like I know what's going on. I told you they're going to start indefinite detention of Muslims, and then it's going to be for everybody else. I don't want to lock up all the Muslims, but they're bringing in the most radical ones and letting them do it, so we go there. Just like I've said over and over again, they want to get things going so bad with race riots in the country, we accept martial law. And if folks are coming down your street burning stuff down, you're going to support the martial law, even though when it doesn't go away in a month, it ends up making you a slave too. I want people to see the big con game and come together. But here's the bottom line. We need financial support. We've got amazing products. We have some of the biggest sales in our history at InfoWarsStore.com on fantastic supplements and nootropics and more for the Memorial Day special, and I'm extending these right through to next Tuesday. We have colloidal silver, 65% off at InfoWarsStore.com. Super Male Vitality sold out for months. It's back 30% off, and a bunch of other big discounts. Sign up for auto ship, an additional 10% off, free shipping, InfoWarsStore.com.